Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1729, and today's date is November 30th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Confirmed Central Banks Project Fear to Control the Masses. Now, before we get started, I just want to know if anyone remembers watching the old westerns when the cowboy or the gunslinger would swagger up to the bar, sling a coin across the counter, and ask for another. Chances are that coin would have been a silver dollar. They used real silver coins back then. Between 1878 and 1921, it would have been the Morgan silver dollar, but they went out of circulation when the price of silver went up. They're getting rarer by the day. The Morgan silver dollar is a great coin to start a collection of. So if you want something different and unusual to buy someone for a holiday gift, the Morgan silver dollar might be just the thing. Go to historicsilvercoins.com and for a limited time save $5 per coin with the offer code X22. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we know that the central bank does not work in the people's interest. We know the central bank works for their own interest, for power, for control. And we know with the BREXIT, well, it's not for the people. It's not what the people wanted. It's not what the people voted for. And we have a confirmation that the central bank, they use fear. They project fear to control the masses. Now, Bank of England Governor Mark Carney said that a no-deal Brexit could send the pound plunging and trigger a worse recession than the financial crisis. No, he's projecting fear right now. He's making everyone afraid that if you don't accept this, something bad's going to happen. Carney said that the UK economy could shrink by 8% in the immediate aftermath if there's no transition period. It's amazing how they're really pushing this transition period. It's like this limbo state that they really want. What they're doing right now is they are scaring government officials and the people, making them think if they don't accept this deal, bad things are going to happen. Now, you need to remember, back in 2016, they said the same exact thing. If you even thought about voting for the Brexit, that would crash and collapse the economy. What happened after the vote and the people voted for the Brexit? Did you see the economy crash? No. What they're doing is they're projecting fear. Now, a former central banker, he's come forward and he's come clean. And he says the Bank of England, they are using fear. They're actually fear-mongering and trying to get everyone to do what they want. And this individual says it's utter garbage. And this is Andrew Sentence, a former Bank of England official and government advisor. He dismissed the Bank of England's forecasts as bogus and politically motivated. We knew this. We know this. We know that the central bank, all they do is threaten and push fear. Really think about the global economy right now. Remember, we're in a central bank economy. This is not a people's economy. They are the ones who are controlling everything. It's not an open and free economy. The market's not open and free. They control every aspect of it. And they can bring it up. They can bring it down. They know exactly how it works because they created it. This is their system. And what they've done was they've put this into place all the way back in time. And their system only lasts for a certain period of time. And at a certain time, there's just too much debt. There's not enough people working. There's not enough tax receipts coming into the governments to pay off this debt. Governments have to borrow even more money. They go further into debt. And this continually happens until the whole system comes to a screeching halt. We're at that point where the system is coming to a screeching halt. The economy is going to fall apart. I mean, no matter what happens here, if they go with this deal, they don't go with this deal, the system is going to break apart because the central bank system was not designed to last any longer than where we are today. And this is why you see things breaking down. The reason why the central bank started to raise rates back before Trump came into office. And this is when they started to make it look like, oh, we're doing it during Obama's reign. Of course, what did they push it up 25 basis point like once? And then as soon as Trump was elected, they did it once in that winter, then once right in the beginning of 2017, and they continued on after that. The reason why they started to do this, because they knew their system was not going to last, and they thought they were going to blame this all on Trump. So they said, okay, let's move forward with this. Yellen was in the driver's seat, and they were pushing their agenda. And then Trump switched everything around. He took control of the magic wand and said, look, we can make this economy incredible. And that's exactly what he did. And we can stop what the deep state, what the central bank is trying to do. And that's exactly what they did. So what is happening right now is that this system is going to fall apart no matter what. And this is not because of the Brexit. It's not because of what people are doing. This is what the central bank likes to do. They like to blame the people or another country or somebody else except them. Now, if the central bank is threatening and projecting fear, that tells you that this is not a good deal. And if you have to threaten people to take your deal, you know it's not good. Because if it's really good, guess what? The people would just take it. Just like the people voted for the Brexit. The people said, you know something? We don't want to be part of the EU. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to vote ourselves away. If this was a great deal, the people would say, hey, this is a great deal. Let us take it. But it's not. This is why you see governments. This is why you see the central banks. This is why you see all of these individuals threaten, push, bully, and everything else. We see Deutsche Bank, they are in trouble. It looks like there was a raid on Deutsche Bank, and I go back to the same thing as I've said before. The central bankers continually tell us that Bitcoin, the cryptocurrencies, they are used with, terrorists and criminals, and they use it for bribing and extortion and everything like that. But when you start to look around and you start to see the banks that are part of the central banking system, you see how bad things really are and what they're really doing behind the scenes. And if these banks weren't so protected and everything was opened up and completely transparent, especially the central banks, you would see something completely different. You want to talk about criminals, you want to talk about treasonous, you would be seeing all of that. So prosecutors, they're investigating whether two employees in the bank's wealth management division helped clients set up accounts in offshore tax havens, including the British Virgin Islands, and possibly allowed criminals to move money through these shelters, some of which have flowed through accounts at the bank. Other employees may have been involved. They don't know yet. They're looking into it. And they're looking through all this. Now, the transactions that these two Deutsche Bank wealth management employees neglected to flag in 2016 alone stood at 311 million euro. That's $353 million. But people familiar with the case, they're saying that this is much, much larger than this. And we see that Deutsche Bank, once again, is in trouble. HSBC is in trouble. Goldman Sachs is in trouble. These banks are not too big to fail. A lot of these banks should fail because most of them are criminal enterprises. And if we really investigated into what was going on with the central bank and these banking systems, we would find out a lot more than just this. Now, Trump tweeted out today that he just signed one of the most important and largest trade deals in U.S. world history. The United States, Mexico, and Canada worked so well together in crafting this great document. The terrible NAFTA will soon be gone. The USMCA will be fantastic for all. Now, we need to remember why Trump is doing all of this. Why he really wanted to get, let me just go back for a sec. He really wanted to get rid of NAFTA completely. But NAFTA was created and you had to go through Congress, and there were a lot of loopholes in there and a lot of things that you had to unwind, and it was completely impossible. So just saying, let's just get rid of it, he had no alternative but to renegotiate it. And he needs to renegotiate all these globalist deals because what he's doing is he's renegotiating them for a completely different system that we're going to transition into. And this is why he, right off the bat, got rid of TPP, denounced globalism, started to make bilateral trade agreements, because he's getting this entire system ready for a transition into a new system. And this system will not be a central bank system. Now, we are getting very, very close to this transition. And you can see how Trump is controlling the Fed and making Powell do what he wants. They're actually working together. And this is why Powell is continually raising the rates. I mean, all he has to do is raise it up to 3% and the whole thing starts to fall apart. Doesn't matter if they drop it at that point. The damage has been done, just like it was back in 2006 when they hit a certain point. The damage was done. They dropped it like a rock falling off a dropped from a building, and it didn't matter. They came all the way down the interest rates, but the damage was already done. Once we hit that neutral rate of around 3% or so, which is going to happen next year, the damage is already done. We're already starting to see the damage hit the everyday person on the street. And remember how everything is calculated. We went over this yesterday, where, if you have a part-time job and you work 1 hour a week, well, you're employed. Can you survive on that? No. If you work 2 hours or 3 hours, no, you can't survive on that. But those go into the statistical numbers, and this is how it's all skewed and manipulated to make everyone think that everything is great. Now, again, Trump is using all this, using the weapons of the central bank and the deep state to push this transition. Now, I've been telling people to get prepared and ready for this. And I do believe we're getting closer and closer. And this is why Trump is coming out and bashing the Fed more often than not. And I believe once the new year comes, you're going to hear him out there quite a bit. And this is why he made those remarks that the Fed is a bigger problem than China, a bigger threat than China. He's painting a picture. He's controlling the narrative. And as we move into the new year, you're going to see a lot of things start to really, really break down, because we have another bump in the interest rates coming up this December, and it looks like they're absolutely going to do it. Once that happens, real estate is really going to plummet very, very quickly. We're going to start to see a lot of other things start to fall apart. Mostly corporations, I think they're going to start laying off people because of their debt load, their stock buybacks. Trump, with his manipulators, they're going to try to keep the market up as long as possible. Basically, he's buying time right now so he can put everything into place. We need to do the same thing that Trump, the Patriots, are doing. They are buying time right now to make sure that they can transition this whole thing into a brand new system. You need to take this time to prepare for what is coming. And this is why I continually say, protect yourself. Protect yourself with gold, with silver, with cryptocurrencies, any way you possibly can. If you can't buy gold and you can't afford a silver dollar, buy some junk silver, buy some silver dimes, buy some silver quarters. Remember, this is a tenth of silver, a quarter of silver, but you got to make sure they're silver. And I think for quarters, anything before 1964, that is silver. But you can prepare yourself, because once the manipulation is gone, once the central banks are out of the picture, once the Patriots have control of the system once again, you're going to see a lot of things change. It's almost like back in the Great Depression when everyone had gold and it was worth $20 an ounce. Now, if you kept the gold at that time, within a split second, they recalculated the gold and it turned out to be $35 an ounce. Once, of course, the government got as much gold as they needed from the people, they said, okay, now we're going to redo everything. It's $35 an ounce for gold. So if you were holding gold back then, you went from 20 to 35. It's almost double, very, very close to that. So the same thing's going to happen now. Now, they've been manipulating gold and silver for a very long time. If the dollar, and the dollar is dropping, and the dollar has been losing its value over time, because as you can see, it takes more and more dollars to pay for goods. I mean, car prices aren't going up. The dollar is devaluing. That means you need a lot more of them to pay for the same thing. I mean, technology is getting better. The art of building a car is getting better and more streamlined, and it's not more expensive. What's happening here is that the paper currency is losing value. And as it loses value, you need more paper to pay for that same item. That's what's really happening. And if that is happening, gold should be moving up. But the central bankers use paper contracts to control the gold and silver prices. Once this entire system is transitioned, gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, they will readjust. And you'll see a lot of changes in the world. Why do you think China, Russia, India, and many other countries, why do you think they're buying gold? Do you think they're saying, oh, look, it's $1,000 or $1,100 an ounce? That's fantastic. No, because they know if they buy the gold right now at $1,100 an ounce, and this central bank system is destroyed, taken over, the manipulation is going to end. And they know that that $1,100 an ounce most likely will be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 an ounce. And then you look at how much gold they have, multiply it by that number, and you can see why China, Russia, and the other countries are purchasing gold or repatriating their gold, because they understand they want to have their gold when the system goes down, because it's not going to be $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 an ounce. It's going to be 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 times what it is today. So if they're getting prepared, Trump is buying time, getting prepared for a transition, we all should get prepared for this transition. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.